All right, guys, morning. Figure I'd get my video going so you can actually, if you've never met me in person. So here I am. All right, I got my Mitsubishi hat on today. You can see that. My Jensko shirt. And I'm at a standing, I like my desk when I'm doing the trainings. I like to stand up just because my chair kind of squeaks, right? And it's nothing worse than hearing when you're talking with me, maybe when you're calling phone support and you're talking with me, you could probably hear my chair squeaking. So every now and then I have to WD-40 the chair, right? So you can't hear that thing squeak. So, but anyway, so yeah, welcome. Here, let me get this going. Change this. Let's see, slideshow, current slide. Okay, so yeah, again, David Wood with Gensco. So Mitsubishi DSG for Oregon. And I do the trainings here at the Vancouver Training Center. So if you guys need some more training, the M&P 2-day training, the advanced M&P training, or the City Multi 3-day trainings. So I do those at Vancouver, and then Garrett, he's looks like he's here also, and he helps and does the 2-day M&P training right now. And then he will be testing and doing the advanced training coming up also. So advanced M&P. So at the Vancouver Training Center. So if you guys want more trainings than what we offer, on these webinars, then sign up for those. So again, this presentation is pretty basic. Just my something's happening on my end, my screen. So anyway, the training, yeah, just install best practices. Trying to just have something real basic, because it seems like we do trainings. I'm guilty of it too. We do some trainings and we talk about a lot of information quickly. And what I want to do on this is less information, slow down, and then talk about just basic stuff that we don't spend a lot of time on in the certified training. So this is the training here is talking about R410, but I did add some stuff for the R454B in here, just because you're right now caught in a transition, right? So the trainings, we're currently working on the new R454B training. And for the in-person and the ones you're going to do through the webinars. So we're, like I say, we're supposed to have them done by the end of this month. And then from there, when we start training, doing those trainings, I don't know, maybe March, maybe April 1st. I don't know yet, but so I put a little bit of that in here just to kind of give you some idea of where it's going. So yeah, differences that I have seen already on the R454B stuff is the free space requirement on the Smart Multi. So that's a big change. Not going to talk about that today because there's a lot there on what we have to talk about and understand it. So the sensors, right? The refrigerant sensors at the indoor unit. So which ones have them, which ones are being used, etc. So, and then handling the refrigerant. So that being said, let me get this video canceled here. And then if you have questions going forward, just type them in the chat. Maybe Garrett, if he's available, can help answer those. If not, I'll answer them as I can. Okay. Everybody good and can hear me okay? Someone give me a yes, please, in the chat. Let me know. I'm not talking to myself because I've done that before. Talk for about 10 minutes and then realize I was muted. Yes, thank you. Yes. All right, great, guys. Okay. Let's start off. Actually, let me do this. I'm going to hit end slide here in this presentation. Where I wanted to go before we started was make you aware, right? Our resources. Window, let's go right here. There we go. Right. Number one resource for us, MyLink Drive. So if you're new to the product or just need a reminder, mylinkdrive.com. and a browser gets you to our website. If you haven't been there for a while, I've noticed documents have been updated and changed. So in particular, the last one I looked at, the MHK2 install manual, they have QR codes in there for scanning and finding documents quicker, which is kind of neat. But if you notice, we have a new tab, Mitsubishi Pro right here. So you click that tab, and then this link opens up into a new, opens up in the browser to a new page. So this page here is for the R454 product only. So we're gonna have two websites. You may have already heard this. Hear you good? I'm not logged into the host soon, so I won't be able to help. Okay, got you, Garrett. That's no problem. So yeah, two websites going forward. So again, MyLink Drive, R410 product only. What I was told is this website's full to capacity and we can't add any more to it. So they made a separate site that's going to be for R454B only, which I think is a great idea. So again, I poked around on it a little bit, not much, but there's some equipment in here. For example, if you just hit like indoor products, and I was just kind of going down. I did, yeah, right here, I did a drop down and just selected Mitsubishi so far, put a check mark there. And then what I was doing was kind of going down, looking at indoor units. And you can see the nomenclature has changed and they kind of list it. These are a lot of just miscellaneous stuff right here. I haven't figured out how to target in on a particular unit yet, but so if we go down to like right here, MFZKX12, so you can tell that's a different nomenclature, right? So that's R454B, plus it tells you right over here, floor unit R454B. And then again, if you click here, then here's your submittal for it. So again, they have, some of the equipment that's going R454B is in here, not everything yet, but so yeah, I'm not going to show you much more than that. I just wanted to make you aware of the new website. Okay. Let's transition back to this. Go from here. Okay. All right, so let me go back. Sorry, best practices, right? And I think what I'm going to do too is I'm going to call this part one. I think I'm going to continue and add and make a part two to it because you'll see at the end where it kind of leaves off, just focusing on, best practices starting from piping on. So the biggest thing is, yeah, what equipment are we installing? So again, if it's a retro or new construction, is going to make a difference because on the retro side, you may have the equipment with you when you start the job. On the new construction side, you're just going out there, maybe pulling line sets and doing drains, stuff like that. So you may not know the equipment, but it'd be a good idea if you did. So what equipment? Cooling only, heat pumps, multi-zone heat pumps. Is it M series? Is it P series? So knowing that way you know what size of lines you're going to be pulling and locations in the home. So again, just a host, this is M series equipment, obviously right here. So you can see the host of indoor units we have over here, and then our outdoor equipment, right? Branch box or not. So again, the part of it here is, okay, if we're installing the system, where are the units going to be located in the home? Master bedroom, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, great room, not only location, but, what equipment are we putting in here? So, level surface, distance and the size of the lines, structurally sound, adequate spacing. So all this you need to know up front because again, your line set's going to be, pulled. If I'm thinking new construction in this scenario, where once it's pulled in the walls or however you're doing it, then that's, that location set, right? You can make a change, but it's pretty much set at that point. So, return air circulation, airthrow, service and maintenance access, making sure we do have access to the equipment. So I did put here in red, so this is a new requirement for R454B equipment. We're gonna have to know on the smart multi, minimum room area requirement. So that's something kind of new added to, on this particular slide, so. So again, we need some type of blueprint going forward. Here's an option for you, right? If you Diamond System Builder, if you're familiar with that, if you design it in the Diamond System Builder program, and then through that program you label, bedroom. These are tag reference, like it shows down here. You can label the zones and put like master bedroom. So like this SVZ, I just kind of caught it I didn't hit OK, so I didn't put the name in there, but I was working on that just to show master bedrooms, the tag reference, living room, bedroom, and then see, it already tells you your line sizing. So once you go back here and hey, this room is gonna get, let's see, so let's say a GS06 bedroom, let's call it, or let's do this, master bedroom. So it's gonna get this air handler. Here's the master bedroom, so I would know, okay, I better be pulling my line set, which is quarter half to this master bedroom. Because it says right here, quarter half. So again, having this, and you can export this as a PDF out of the Diamond System Builder program, and then hand it to your install crew. And then here's your, blueprint of the job. Maybe you guys have a different way you do it, fine, but something's better than nothing. Hear a lot of stories where they're going out there with nothing. So. All right, not only, okay, equipment, pipe sizing, it'd be a good idea to know our piping distances before we, just start pulling lines, based on not knowing our model of equipment, etc. That's where we can get into trouble there. So maximum pipe length for your MXZ smart multi units with a branch box, as you can see, here's our models. 36,000 through 60, so 3-ton through 5-ton right here. You have your total piping length, the 492, your farthest piping length, meaning from outdoor unit to the indoor unit. The farthest indoor unit is what they're looking at there. Then farthest piping length after your branch box, which is 82 feet. And then your height difference, like on this unit here, if you're, it depends if the outdoor unit's above or below your branch box and your indoor units. So on this one, yeah, I mean, what I remember, I'm gonna say 165 if the unit's above versus, no, that's city multi, scratch that. I don't want to guess on that, but yeah, there's a difference. And the last I looked, it was like 30 feet. If it's above or below. So on this unit, just know the smart multi, it wants to know for the height difference where the outdoor unit is. And then also these distances can change. So based on what, your indoor units you're connecting to the smart multi, it may derate your piping distances based on that. So again, best practices on this system here is use Diamond System Builder. Okay, let's look, max piping length for this is your ported multi-zones, so no branch box, MXZ-Cs. So here's your standards, and then here's your hyperheat. So again, knowing your total pipe length, 230. On the height difference, you notice it doesn't say above or below, so it doesn't matter in this case. And then your branch, so you're allowed 82 feet per indoor unit on that ported multi-zone. So again, just knowing the distances, right, before you have the equipment is what I'm getting at, so and don't exceed these distances. All right, let's look at, here's some R454 B equipment. So max pipe length. So here's the M series right here. Here's your model numbers, the FXs. And it looks like to me, I haven't dug into this really deep yet, but these distances are longer, the piping length is what I see there. Here's your height difference, number of bends. That doesn't look like it's changed there. So it looks like, yeah, piping distances have changed. Here's P series. AK, AH, AK, there's your BTUs. So piping length 100, 165. So height difference 100 feet, number of bends. So again, you got to know the model, you have to know the equipment, right? So you could be out there pulling lines on this equipment and don't know any of the distances and see how you can get into trouble on that. Okay, crimping the end. So this basic stuff right here on the PDM or whatever you're running for your line sets. So, crimping the ends. And again, it's marked on every foot, right? Every 1 foot, it's marked on there so you know your distances. So as you're pulling the PDM, keeping track of that. So and writing it down so you have all those distances as you're pulling it. Then you don't have to go back through at the end and try to guesstimate on, okay, what we do? How many feet was this one and how many feet was this one, etc. So kind of that's why I put that in there is just we need to be as accurate as we can on the piping distances. So it needs to be, you got to write that down somewhere, keep track of that. Whatever your plan is, again, I say crimping the ends because if the piping's sitting there open, we know that's a bad thing, right? Debris, moisture, etc. If the piping's left open. So I don't know if, an idea would be if, I don't know if you guys, on new construction or whatever, if you're pressurizing your line sets before you leave. And then, at finish, when you come back and set the equipment, then check your lines, you pressurize them and leave a gauge on them or not, or leave a Schrader on them and come up with the set pressure you want to leave them at. Then when you show back up for finish, you check the pressure on those lines. And that way, if someone, blew a nail or a screw through your line set. But at least crimp the ends if you're not going to pressurize them. This is new in the installation, the trainings we have. So again, refrigerant piping that is installed inside of a wall or floor space where it passes through joists or studs must be protected by strike plates. Strike plates or other acceptable protective shielding to prevent punctures or other damage. So again, I mean, that's always been best practices and a good idea, but it was kind of hit and miss if we did it. So again, they're stressing that more with the new refrigerant at this point. So I don't know if it's in the installation manual of the equipment. So it'd be something to look at, right? Because if it's in the installation manual, then that could be code. We're gonna have to follow that based on code. So bending copper. So just again, properly installed and a nice installation. So this is the best, so don't give me any grief on my picture here. I know this is brazed fittings and, on elbows and stuff, but it was such a nice piping picture. And I couldn't find a good one that with people using a tubing bender. So this is what I went with. So again, this best practices on either you're going to use physical fittings and brazing, which you can still do on our systems, or you're going to use, tubing benders. Or, gradually bend them. So again, using the proper tubing cutters, cutting the copper. Again, this is just basic stuff that we don't really talk about enough. So that was the design of this class. So proper tubing cutters for cutting the copper versus, this scenario here, right? You need to bend it or just cutting it off with a bandsaw, sawzall, what have you, multi-tool. So again, I mean, I wouldn't do that. You could if you deburr it and then you'd have to blow all the shavings out of your piping. So again, I would just say don't do it. Again, just best practices on how to flare. So found this step, right here, this pretty good process here on, just going through the basic process again. Cleaning the copper and cutting it with a tubing cutter. Don't forget the flare nut. I was just joking with a guy about this. And this is the struggle, right? It's putting the flare nut on before you actually flare it. So step number 2, don't forget that, or you'll have to redo it, of course. Deburring the copper to ensure no shavings enter the line. So the other part of that is big is, it's not as big of a deal now if you're doing flares, but if you were brazing copper and on the smaller diameter copper, like the quarter, when you cut it, and if you didn't deburr that, it reduces the diameter of the copper pipe, right? It just creates a restriction right there and downsizes the piping even more. So that was key on if you were doing brazing and using couplings and 90s and stuff like that. So you wouldn't have that sharp edge there. So, deburr, even if you're doing the flares. In the block now they have the gauges, so you can't set the depth, too deep and have too deep of a flare or too shallow. So the clutch driven, type flaring tools are a lot better nowadays. So small amount of refrigerant oil on the flare before you tighten it for a smooth, flare surface, like it says. Here's your clutch driven type of flaring tool. So you don't over, tighten it or not enough. So you get that the right depth on that flare. And then, a gauge, if they have these gauges that you can get and it checks your flare. So after you make that flare, you put your pipe in this gauge, and if it fits that diameter, then it's a good flare. Nylog or not, is another thing that was brought up. Refrigerant oil is always stated right in our manuals. Nylog, though, you could use. It's an assembly type lube, and I'll show you a little bit more info about it. So again, approved assembly lube on the rear and face of the flare, not on the threads, not inside the piping, not to seal a bad flare. So, and then torque wrench, right? So again, just focus again here, reaming all the tube ends to the full inside diameter of the tube to remove the small burr created by the cutting edge. Let's see, inside the edge is not removed by reaming. Erosion, corrosion may occur due to local turbulence and increased local flow velocity in the tubing. But see what I was saying right there, right? That's a cut piece of pipe with the, it's not reamed. So it just, it makes it a smaller diameter if you don't ream that out. Now, if you do the flare, and it's going to flatten that out anyway, but still, to make a good flare and have a good face on it, I would ream that out. And here's the other thing I've had happen too is the tip of the deburring tool, if you scratch it on the inside of the piping as you're doing the deburring, what happens is then the face, here, let me clip to this one. See the face of that flare? That could be from that deburring tool. So, but a good flare, right, is it looks like this. Clean, shiny, just a nice looking flare there. So bad flares, right? You could see right here, just too shallow in the flaring block is what that is. And then scratched on the face. And then right here, see cracking, splitting on the end. Usually that's too deep of a flare right there. What happens. And then plus, I mean, it's crooked right here too. I mean, try to keep it as straight as possible, right? A nice straight section of so you can flare on a straight piece, because if it's curved, too much and you flare, your flare, you notice it's crooked when you do that. It can be. So sorry guys if this is basic stuff, but just refresher, right, for all of us. So any questions so far? See anything in the chat? Okay, continue on here. So oil the flare or not? Promise you the flaring, guys. If during the tightening, the mating surface wants to slide, it's easier with oil. So again, they're just showing apply refrigerant machine oil over the entire face and seat, like I was saying. So face and seat, not inside the piping, not on the threads. A small amount of refrigerant oil or Nylag blue, which is compatible with all refrigerants, should be applied to the flare face before tightening the connection. Again, make sure the oil or Nylag does not get onto the threads of the flare, as it will act like a lubricant. And then what happens, right? If it's easy to spin and tighten, if you go to torque that setting down and it's really easy to spin, you'll over torque it, is what happens on that. So Nylag or not, again, gasket and thread sealant. So again, Nylag blue, it's a fluid made from synthetic refrigerant grade compressor oil. I'm just going to paraphrase this. So it's compatible with all system refrigerant and oils. Gasket coated with Nylag will never dry or become heat fixed. Okay, threaded connections coated with Nylag will block high pressure leaks by forming a hydraulic seal. See, we're not trying to do that. We're just trying to use it for an assembly lube. So again, that's what we're going to use it for if we don't have the refrigerant oil, or if you use it at all. It's a suggestion. Okay, what about copper press fittings? Sure, they're allowed, of course, right? So pick your type of press fitting, and that would be fine to use. Yeah, the flares. So on the in the install manual, you're going to have to find the torque chart for that, Walter. So there's a chart in the install manual that tells you based on your 1/4 inch piping, it should be, I think it's 13 foot-pounds is what I remember on that, 10 to 13 or 13. So that's where it's going to tell you. Yep. So yeah, press fittings again, the stand warranty wise on that, it's Mitsubishi, they're allowed. They say you can use them, but again, if it causes a leak in the system, that's on the third party press fittings, right? So doesn't affect warranty. There's been no issue with that. But again, I mean, there's a batch, what, RectoSeal, was that the those quick fittings that they finally recalled because they were crap and causing failing? So there's a case right there that, not all fittings are bad, but those in particular, they're making a new version of them. I did hear, I don't know if you guys know more about them than I do, but I know they're making like a new, the 2.0 version that doesn't leak. So press in fittings. I don't know about the press ins, I like brazed fittings, fine, flares, okay. The press fitting tools, yeah, there's been a few issues with those too. So, but okay, so we get everything piped, right? So we know kind of leading to, okay, we have it piped, we have all our line sets pulled, the right sizing, strapped, etc. Now we're gonna do leak testing. So again, leak solution at 600 PSI for 60 minutes. That's an option to what's recommended if you come to our trainings or what's stated in the book, 24 hours. So I get it. I'm being realistic. These one-to-one systems that you're doing, you can do 2 of those jobs in one day or one a day. So you don't have 24 hours. So if you don't have the 24 hours, then again, at 600 PSI, with a solution on them within 5 minutes, 10 maybe max, I would say 5. Staying at the flare, right? I say don't leave the flare fitting, spray them down and just wait there, because if you let that dry and come back, then it's tough to tell. And then I used to have a mirror with me. I would mirror inspect them on the back side that I couldn't see. So spray that down at 600 PSI. Within 5 minutes, you should be able to see micro bubbles if there's a leak there. And I would always recommend, every fitting you do, because flares are a stupid fitting, right? You can think you can do them right, and then it leaks. So that's a recommendation for that. if you don't have that 24 hours. So it passes that. Well, here's another option. Go back here. So again, if you can pipe, get the outdoor unit set, indoor unit set, get the piping done first, get it on pressure right away, then do all your other stuff later, then it's staying on that pressure test longer too. Rather than, doing piping at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you're scrambling to do pressure test, evacuation, add the charge and get done for the day, so something to think about. Okay, then we're down to vacuum. So the requirement for the vacuum is 500 microns or below for 60 minutes. And again, I did read an R454 manual recently, just a little bit of it. What I did see in there was the same, but I did see, and I always recommended this also, is having a separate micron gauge and not using the micron gauge in your manifold set. So doing a separate micron gauge is recommended. So big thing is stopping oil contamination to your micron gauge so it works properly. So again, if it can pass the pressure testing and then the vacuum, good chance that that thing is no leaks, dry system. If you're doing this, holding the 500 microns for 60 minutes. Okay, let's look at some charging now. So we're in a vacuum at this point, and we have a choice here. Let's look at our charge, right? Is it going to need any additional charge, or is it good out of the, based on the piping distances? So M&P series R410 equipment. Here's the example, piping length. So 25 feet, no additional charges required. Again, you have to know your unit, right? So exceeding 25 feet, you're going to have an additional charge is required. And we're pretty used to these charts based on, per 5 feet. And again, this is on your reference label on your outdoor unit. It has on that reference label, it's going to have the amount you have to add. And it'll tell you how much it's good for. And then it tells you, how many ounces per foot. So that's this is what we've been used to. Here's your P series outdoor units, and your P series, it's going to be different. So P series, here's your look right here, additional charge amount right here, based on if this is a PUZ A18 and we go and it's good for 70 feet. And if we go past 70, then we're going 80. If we go 80 feet, it wants 2 ounces, 90 feet, 4 ounces, etc. So that's how you're looking at that. So again, that's R410. Here's looking at R454B. So additional refrigerant charge for R454B. So again, piping length. Well, back to the piping too, this popped in my head. So I have not seen any pipe size changes based on 410 units and R454 units. So again, I have not seen one case where it's changed diameter because of the refrigerant. So piping length, so 25 feet, no additional charge. If you're exceeding the 25, additional charge is required. And then here's your new M series units, right? The FXs. And notice we're going per foot now. 0.22 ounces per for each 1 foot. So again, that's not a big deal, because if you take 0.22 and times that by 5, I think that's what it's 1.10 for 5 feet. And what we just have back here, 1.08 per 5 feet. So it's basically the same now at this level. So it's not a big change there. It's just they're going to list it per foot now. So here is down here. So this is looking at these particular models. So this is still M series, and this is kind of different right here, right? The 15, the 18, and the 24. We're good for 50 feet on these units. So no additional charge is required. Anything exceeding 50 feet, you're going to do, again, 0.22 ounces per 1 foot for those units. right? So again, since we're in the vacuum, like I say, this is time to get our additional charge in the system. It's easier to do. It's either you're gonna get it in while it's running, or you do it while it's under a vacuum. So you may get all the charge in under a vacuum, you may not. So I would do what you can under a vacuum and get the, get the amount you can in there. And if you have to, it takes all you can get it in there, then, open the service valves, and then you're gonna have to do the rest while it's running. And again, just an overall snapshot, right, of just a ductless mini split, the cycle. And again, here's our service valve, right? Our suction service valve at the outdoor with our gauge port on this particular unit. And that's where we're doing our vacuum evacuation and pressure testing through there. And then, adding our additional charge, and then we can open our service valves after that. No particular order. I would do, I mean, the preference for me is if you have a liquid service valve, I would open that first slowly. Just to let liquid come out, trying to get the liquid out of the compressor, right? When we get these units, all the refrigerants pump down into the outdoor unit. So the compressor is full of liquid, and that can be a problem on startup. So what I would do, like I say, I would just try to just be strategic. And if we're going to let liquid out, I would like to have it come out the liquid line and then get to the coil and then work its way back, and then open the suction side and let it drift back to the, this is the accumulator right here / muffler on this system. So just trying to, like I say, prevent, we got to get that liquid out of the compressor, and that I got something about that coming up too on a new system. Okay, condensate drain, just a, a reminder on the condensation drains. So don't forget, it's either going to be gravity or it's going to be a internal lift pump, depends on the unit. So just the best practices on it, right here, just maximum downward slope out of the unit. If you're doing, this is obviously a wall unit right here in this scenario. Here's your wall penetration directly outside, versus, having it just loop over the line set, or, remember that flexible, they still may have it. I think it was it Diversitech that had that flexible drain tubing at the time? So, which was fine if you're going, right out and down like this. But if you're going horizontal and you didn't keep it at the bottom of your, your speed channel or your line height or whatever you're using, then yeah, you could have those air traps like that. But yeah, again, just basic stuff here. And then if you have the lift pumps, right, they're showing right here out of the unit, lift pump into a common drain in this scenario. And again, internal, if you're using the internal pump, depending on the unit, remember those lift requirements are not all the same. So here's your unit, and here's using the lift pump, right, and your drain line. So they could be talking from the bottom of the unit, they could be talking from the ceiling plane, top of the unit. So here's the chart. SLZ, that's the M series 4-way cassette unit, and you can see this one roughly 20 inches or less is what they're saying from the ceiling plane. So that would be like, yeah, ceiling plane. So what you do, right, you're using that lift pump and you're coming out of it immediately, you're 90 right away, and you're getting your vertical. And then you get into your gravity drain and let the gravity take over at that point. So again, don't extend your piping out this far and 90 way out here, and then do your vertical. Because again, we want to get it's an internal lift pump, it's not a condensate pump. So we have limitations on that. So again, know those limitations. So install manual under the drain section, condensate drain piping section, it'll show you this same chart, just like this. And it's going to have, it won't show you this, but it'll show you your, for that particular unit, it's going to show you the max. So. The other thing would be going, another thing to mention here is sticking with the size they recommend out of the install manual and not reducing it down. So that's, again, that's on the inspector catches something like that, they're gonna ask, what size is, based on the install manual, what size is recommended. And based on that manual, it shows maybe 1.25 inches. Some of our units do show 1.25 inch drain line piping. And if you reduce that down to 3/4, that's on you at that point. So the inspector may say something, so you can't do that or not say anything. Okay, so drain line's done now, right? Then the wiring. Just basic, because again, you may not be making the connections, you may not even be doing the wiring, right? It might be electrician doing it or whatever, but still knowing, if you might be pulling the wire with the lines, helping out or something. So again, just understanding the wire size based on the indoor unit and the outdoor unit, the combination you're using. So 14.4 or 16.4 is what we're going to be doing for wiring from our outdoor unit to the indoor. So again, it can be the tray cable like this, solid or stranded. It doesn't have to have the shielding in it. So like this wire right here, this is just basic like Romex or Romex type wiring. SO, I think they call it SO cable like this, if I remember right, with this type of black covering. So again, just the right gauge wire is what we're concerned about there. So. Right, outdoor unit gets power. And from the outdoor unit, these terminals here, S1, 2, and 3 on the outdoor equipment, power the indoor equipment. And then here's a look at the branch box system, the wiring for that. So again, here, let's focus on the indoor units right here. So indoor equipment on the branch box smart multi systems, notice it's 16.3 with a ground, or let's call it 16.4. And then here's your part numbers right here. So down here for that. So they're showing tray cable right here. So. But again, that's what we're doing on the branch boxes. So that's different from the 1-to-1s and the ported multi-zones. Let me go back here one click. Right here, 1-to-1s, 14 gauge wire, ported multi-zone, 14. Smart multi right here. So. And again, if you're doing this system, right, your M-net wire you need for this from outdoor unit to branch box. That's our 16.2 shielded stranded. So that, and then power wire from outdoor unit to branch box. I know this is install basics, but it's nice to know, right, the wiring differences on these. So. And then just end on the preheat. So remember liquid in the compressor, right? So this is a document, and this is out of the service manual. They talk about preheat. So again, reports of new units not starting and displaying a 2 flash error. So over amp or a current sensing error. This error can also show up on existing systems after refrigerant repairs and recharging. Right, new compressor put in, you throw, the refrigerant back in the system, anywhere from, 3 pounds to the smart multis with a branch box, you could be 25 pounds of refrigerant. So that's a lot. So you're going to get liquid in the compressor at that point. Chance that it will throw an overcurrent error. So the installation, let's see, the error can show up in existing system, and recharging are complete. In the maintenance section, the installation manual states charge the liquid refrigerant all at once may cause the compressor to be locked up. 2 items missing in the installation manual related to this issue: power must be turned on 12 hours before startup, and preheat crankcase settings need to be turned on. So again, this might be more for your startup guy. Maybe your installer is doing the startup. So that's why I kind of included this in here. So the settings differ based on model, if they're on or off from the factory. Don't have a good list for you guys. on which one. Seems like we start putting a list together and then something changes, so we don't have a good list, so you're gonna have to check. So again, unfortunately, it's gonna be the service manual. It doesn't come in the install manual. And what you get with the equipment is the install manual. You don't get the service manual. So you're gonna have to go to MyLink Drive in the service manual and then look for service functions. Under service functions, it'll tell you about the preheat setting, and it'll tell you if it's activated or not from the factory. Let me show you that real quick. Because not all units, like I say, have it. I'm gonna go to MyLink Drive. I'll show you an example. You would think a hyperheat outdoor unit would have it enabled, right? It makes sense. Low ambient unit installed, mostly used in a a hyperheat unit, sorry, installed in a low ambient application. You would think it's, ready to go and preheat set. Well, assuming, right, gets us in trouble. So M series. Here's the hyperheat system right here, the FS 1:1. I'll pick the 12. Service manual. Under the contents, like I say, look for service functions. If it doesn't have service functions, it's not going to have the JK jumper to cut for preheat. So if it has page 24 in this case, here's that page I was just showing you. Here's the preheat control settings. So talking about the different models, what preheat control, what it does, it turns on when the compressor ambient is 68 degrees or below. When the preheat control turns on, the compressor is energized. Depends on the unit, either 50 watts or 70 watts of power is trickled through the board, the inverter board, to the compressor winding, and that's what heats the compressor. Preheat control setting, JK jumper. To activate preheat jump control, cut JK on the inverter board. Off. To deactivate it, you solder it back on, meaning that's, it's not cut, obviously, right? And then here it is, JK soldered, initial setting. And then you have to cut it to activate it. So again, showing you that on a hyperheat 1:1 system, it's not activated from the factory. You have to cut that jumper. But that's where you find it. And unfortunately, you're gonna have to do that for, each system you're on, or, you could reach out to support, text us right at our support number, and then just say, hey, I'm working on this model. Can you just tell me real quick if this is the preheat's enabled or not? And we can help you out. But the goal is to make you more self-sufficient and just show you where the information's at so you can look it up. Saves us a call into support, right? So. The guys, I think, let me go back here. I think that's done. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So again, kind of left off there. Like I say, I want to call this part one. I'm thinking part two would pick up and take off from controls, right? And start setting controls up and getting the unit running and go that direction. But Anthony, let's see what if the unit has a JK, is there a time where it isn't cut? Well, back to, if I'm following you, Anthony, so, well, okay, gotcha. Yeah, well, Arizona, Texas, Florida, right, would be places where I would see, you wouldn't need to cut it, I guess. So depends I don't know the low temperatures in those areas, right? So I don't have a good number. Let's say maybe if we're 32 degrees or colder and we have a chance of getting that in the winter time, maybe that's a good temperature to enable it. It's set anytime below 68 degrees. I mean, could you do it like if you're going to be, that's pretty much covers everywhere, I think, right? At night, you can get down to 68 everywhere. And then if you had it cut, it would work, it would be in use, right? So Did that answer the question? Let's see, are you running into more leaks, leaking line sets? Um, so like manufacturing issues, like on certain brands of line sets, Corey, is that where you're going with that? Cause no, not, I know more about that though, leaking line sets, formatory corrosion type of scenario causing it. So you'd have to expand on that, yes, those. Um, there is best practices on the PDM and the insulation. Did you guys know about, I don't have it handy as far as the document on it, but let me go back here. So if you're having breakdown of the line sets, right here, PDM, right, there's a document. I could probably find it real quick in a minute, but if you're cutting this, or if this is open and you're not, they show putting a zip tie on it. It's that simple, or you tape over the end here, because what you don't want is water getting down between the copper piping and the insulation. And when that happens, so via it breaks down this on the PDM, it breaks down the coating on this, and this plastic's a VOC. So a VOC, air and water, it corrodes your copper and breaks it down, and you'll have leaks in it. Now, not all of the insulation was like that, but this type right here, it was. There's a guy on YouTube, AC Service Tech. He does a good video, 10-minute video on that process and the cause of it. So, but no, to your question, to answer your question, so no, that's the only time I've seen the issue on the line set. So, gotta go. Stein is in the mood. Is that Chris Stein? But guys, so yeah, I'll hang around for another 8 minutes. We'll go to 8 o'clock. I'll see if I can find that, pop that document up too in the meantime. If you have questions, fire away. And what I'll do, bring this over here. See if I can find it here buried in all these files here. So maybe it's under PDM. Yeah, right here, PDM. Yeah, there was the document, guys, on the PDM and the problem with it. So termination can be made with tube and horizontal vertical position with insulation facing down, never vertical with insulation exposed. Yeah, Venturi tape, seal the skin. So again, what they're trying to prevent is the air and moisture, right? Well, you're gonna have moisture, right? We're gonna have natural condensation. And we don't want the PDM, the poly plastic breaking down and getting under there with air. And that's what causes that to break down. Can I zoom in? Yeah. Let's see, I'm gonna go down a bit right here. I'll stop right there for a minute. Why not wrap if it's vertical? Yeah, that I don't know on that. What I have, the videos I've watched, it's wrapped anyway, right? So you don't want, obviously, if it's vertical, we're gonna have moisture and water coming down from the top like this. So you want it sealed at both ends, all ends. And I'm gonna go down a little bit more now here. See what else I had, guys. If you're done reading that here, let me go here. Zip tie is proven to work. Um, I would probably tape it. I think I did see before where they were showing a zip tie also. And I mean, I think they were just looking for like a simple fix and say, yeah, zip tie'd work, but I would do the taping. That's what I would do. Because what happens, I mean, long term is what you'll see is the copper starts turning black. I don't know if you've been up like on rooftop areas and see lines set that's exposed to the weather. And if you see like this PDM and you know how when you cut it, it kind of shrinks back and exposes copper. And you see your copper turning black. That's the signs of it right there, the start of it. Here, actually, I was gonna do this. Let me open, let's see, image. See what I got here. Yeah, here we go. See the cracking right here? Now, this isn't black from corrosion and stuff, but you can see the copper right here. Yeah, I don't know if that's from the same thing. It's just an image. I can't remember where I did get this, but that's not caused by the fulminary corrosion. That's something else. All right, guys. So like I say, any other questions at this point? I'll hang out another 3 minutes here. So otherwise, thanks for attending. Hope you got something out of this basic stuff, just a refresher, right? So let's see if I can find my guys that are hanging around. Let me see if I can find my AC service tech guy that talks about that. Actually, he's good. I like the guy. He talks about a lot of good stuff. Vacuum, different methods for doing evacuations without gauges and stuff. AC, let's see, let me go to YouTube here. AC service tech. Tech, tech, there we go. Yeah, here he is, this guy.
Don't feel bad when things take longer for you to digest. I will tell you that I'm not somebody that's just going to walk up to a system and be like,
Anyway, that's the guy. Like I say, he does some good stuff on HVAC and refrigerant and vacuum steps. Here's this one right here, the 10 steps. I think this is the one. Watch that video right there. That's a good one. So like we have nothing else better to do, right? We're watching videos on our trade, but hey, we got to, right? We have work and then, life's not busy enough, right? We're gonna watch HVAC videos on the side. But hey, we got to do it sometimes, right? So. All right, guys, thank you very much for attending. Have a good day. See you next time.